Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let us reach 3,000 likes. And thanks to everyone for supporting the channel. Ryu was shocked and said to himself, "An example? Are they planning to execute him?" Then he raised his hand and suggested an opposing opinion, saying, "But, Mr. President, doesn't showing such public murder prove that the Anti-Player Act is necessary?" The president said, "I am aware of that. It might even backfire. Therefore, we won't take on the role of kidnapping." Ryu inquired. "What?" Then the president smiled slightly and said, "We will fabricate it as if ordinary citizens kidnapped Lee Seong-hyun. We will use money to hire ordinary citizens with a criminal record to make it look like they kidnapped him. Of course, the actual kidnapping will be done by us," Ryu inquired. "So you're saying you'll stage it?" he said. "Exactly. After secretly kidnapping Lee Seong-hyun, we'll make it look like ordinary citizens did it, and we'll even carry out a public execution. At that point, we will intervene too late, trying to stop the criminals and save Lee Seong-hyun, but by then, Lee Seong-hyun will already be dead. With this way, we not only achieve the goal of killing Lee Seong-hyun, but also officially let the citizens know that our cafe is not an enemy." Then Ryu said to himself, there wasn't a scenario like this in the previous regressions. In previous regressions, Lee Seong-hyun showed hostility towards players too. Then, the cafe proceeded to kidnap him in the same way. But at that time, I didn't know about this plan. I saved Lee Seong-hyun before he was kidnapped. In fact, Ryu didn't know about this plan despite successfully rescuing Lee Seong-hyun and forming a bond with him. But his ability to transform into Lost Yak had revealed these hidden aspects. Without it, he might have remained in the dark. Then he smiled and said to himself, getting the assassin's mask early turned out to be a wise move. After that, Ryu inquired, "However, Mr. President, the act has already passed. Will eliminating Lee Seong-hyun make any difference?" He replied, a question fitting for Lost Yak. "Certainly there will be changes. First and foremost, the act loses its influence with the demise of the outspoken congressman. Moreover, not only that, but we might also get an opportunity to select members for the anti-player police unit." Ryu said, "Ah, I see." The president added, "Plus, getting rid of Lee Seong-hyun will prevent proposing more anti-player acts. Simply blocking those acts makes him worth the sacrifice. Do you get it?" Ryu said, "Yes, Mr. President, I understand." Having comprehended the president's intentions and the overall plan, Ryu inquired about the detailed plan and asked, "So, how do you plan to find ordinary citizens for the show?" He replied, "Our connection with the police department will make it easy to check individuals with red flags. We'll approach them, check if they have any qualms about making some money, and then recruit about half a dozen." In fact, the president had it all planned out, and it seemed like a plan that had been contemplated for a while, not hastily concocted. Then the president inquired, "Yamti, you mentioned we could mobilize 3 executives immediately, right?" She replied, "Yes." He added, "When we execute the kidnapping of Lee Seong-hyun, involve them as well. Yamti, you'll be in charge of overseeing the congressman's abduction." She said, "Understood. Trust me with that." Then he addressed his words to Ryu and said, "Lostyak, assist Yamti in preparing for the kidnapping. I'll send you the location and Lee Seong-hyun's schedule." Ryu asked, "When is the execution time?" The president replied, "The execution time is when Congressman Lee Seong-hyun goes to his office, tomorrow at 8 a.m. The next day, in a press conference, Congressman Lee Seong-hyun attacked the players, and after the end of the conference, he went out accompanied by his bodyguard. He was also a player, and he paid him a large sum because he realizes that life is priceless. When the bodyguard opened the rear door, Lee Seong-hyun got in without suspicion. But there was a woman sitting in the driver's seat whom he hadn't seen before. So he asked, "Who are you?" Yamti replied, "Hello, Congressman. Nice to meet you." He asked angrily, "Who the hell are you?" But suddenly, Lee Seong-hyun could no longer speak. He was knocked unconscious by the hand of the security guard who had opened the door a moment ago. The bodyguard said, "Yamti, it's ready." She said, "Yes, I'll go first. Please follow slowly." Then the car carrying the congressman smoothly exited the parking lot. In fact, Yamti have a strong rune, enchanting rune. Effect, seduce and dominate humans with just eye contact or physical contact. Can dominate up to 5 people and can only be used on the opposite sex. Duration is infinite and the enchanted person remains loyal to the owner, cannot be used on monsters or angels, and the enchanting rune's real-world application proved exceptional. But the problem that she can't enchant the same target again after releasing it, and in round 3, she could even change professions to a tamer. It was a job of capturing monsters and taming them. Since she couldn't seduce monsters with her rune, it was the perfect job. Although, it's a bit disappointing that there are only 5 slots, but the enchanting rune was undeniably incredible. It was enviable, almost like having the authority of a district representative. Enchantment isn't just for players, it can dominate any human. Level or job didn't matter. Even against opponents stronger than her, it didn't matter. If you set your mind to it, even the president can be beguiled. Enchantment possesses a unique power, an ability to dominate akin to the authority of a zone representative, or perhaps even surpassing it. With the tamer ability, Yamti could command monsters, placing every living being under her watchful eye. Having this rune, her life became easier, as she could do whatever she wanted, but she was bored. And during that time, Yamti stumbled upon a cafe named Player Haven. Impressed by the cafe's charm, she decided to take the interview test, only to discover it involved becoming entangled in a murder. But for someone who had already committed such an act, it posed little difficulty. And she said to herself, if I excel at this, could I manipulate the individual who founded the cafe? Building trust, she ascended to a leadership position and proposed extending interactions beyond video chats to include offline meetings. Ultimately, in the real world, Yamti encountered the individual known as the chairman. When Yamti met him, she smiled and said, "Oh, you're the chairman, the visionary behind the cafe? Greetings." The president, "Hello? You must be Yamti?" Sharing a smile and making eye contact, Yamti effortlessly dominated the chairman, and the system message appeared for her. Average person Song Jae-gyum has fallen under enchantment. Yamti was surprised and said, "Huh? Wait, an average person?" While players were labeled as such, discovering he was an average person was perplexing. But for Yamti, the distinction held little significance, and she smiled and said, "Whether a player or not, I can control the chairman of Player Haven at my whim." Then she ordered him, "Don't address me as your master in public. Act like I'm an early member like the other executives." He said, "Understood." With the son of such a corporation held as a metaphorical slave, financial concerns were virtually non-existent. Then she inquired, "But Chairman, why did you create the cafe?" He replied, "At first the idea was to gather players since I couldn't become one. Now it's about expanding influence and surprising my father." She said, "Ah, attempting to earn approval from your father." He added, "Yes, but before that, I must kill Heavenly Demon." Yamti inquired, "Heavenly Demon?" He replied, "He's the eldest son of Osung Group. My father always compares me to him. Hence, I need to eliminate him as soon as possible. If I don't, I'll be subjected to endless comparisons." Though she claimed to have enchanted him, it merely increased his liking from 0 to 100. These individuals also think and feel. Even under the influence, their existing sentiments of revenge and inferiority persist. Then Yamti said, "You harbored a hidden agenda all along. I understand how you feel. I'll assist you in killing Ma Kyung-rok," he inquired. "Really?" she replied, "but only when our influence surpasses its current state. If we become so powerful, Ma Kyung-rok will have no choice but to join Player Haven." Then Yamti grinned slyly and said, "That's when we will kill him." Returning to the present time, Yamti looked at the member of the National Assembly and said, he should have kept a better eye on his subordinates. For Yamti, asserting control over the bodyguards was no challenge. Then she added, "The bodyguards' enchantment has just been lifted. By now, they're probably regaining their senses and searching for the members of the National Assembly." Lifting the enchantment on the bodyguards had been intentional, as they needed to know about the members of the National Assembly's kidnapping to prompt the necessary action. In fact, the kidnapping wasn't her order, but a plan devised and executed by the chairman himself. And she added, "The chairman surprised me by suddenly announcing the kidnapping of the members of the National Assembly, even though it wasn't planned. It's been a while since he's come up with an operation I like. But he should have given me a heads up before planning something like this. I should warn him not to do it again." Arriving at a remote mountain valley with an uncertain location, Yamti stepped out of the car. As soon as the door opened, The lively gazes of some people turned towards Yamti. One said, "Oh, you've arrived, Yamti-nim." These were the three high-ranking executives recently recruited through a rigorous interview process. After placing the member of the National Assembly in a chair, Yamti smiled and spoke. "I've chosen you three well. It's nice to see that sharp look in your eyes." One said, "Thank you for your praise, Yamti-nim." Another said, "Yamti-nim, your eyes are truly beautiful as well, and your well-built body." She smiled and said thank you. But suddenly Yamti grabbed the man's finger that had just spoken and broke it. And she added, "Where did you learn to make inappropriate remarks to your superior? I feel like punishing you." The man with the broken finger immediately apologized. In fact, Yamti's strength was beyond imagination, but that wasn't the reason that he apologized, as he was currently under the control of the enchantment rune. Then she said, "Other executives should be cautious too. If you belittle a woman, you'll all face consequences. Understood?" They said, "Oh, we understand. We'll do whatever you say, Yamti-nim." She added, "Come here. I'll treat your finger." And after giving emergency treatment to the injured man, Yamti did not release the enchantment because she was concerned that the guy might seek revenge and disrupt the plans. Because once controlled, he can't be controlled again. Later, when the work is over, she can just kill him, and that's it. But suddenly, Lee Seong-hyun, who had awakened from the other guy's scream a while ago, blinked, and he asked, "Who are you guys?" Guys, write in the comments what you expect. Will Ryu save him and kill Yamti, or what will happen in the next part? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel financially.